Hi guys, welcome back to the Fortune Test Space. And today I want us to talk about front-end engineering, right? In the previous video, I spoke about all these type of engineers, and then today I want us to pick front-end engineers and then speak about the steps you need to take to become a front-end engineer. Okay. Right. So last week not last week. I mean, in the previous video, I made mention that a front end engineers are those who create the user interface. Right. They create the user experience, anything the users see on the laptop, on the mobile phone, and all those devices. That is the job of a front end engineer. So today we are just going to look at a few steps. I'll just mention the steps and then a little description about the steps, and then I'll leave some links in the description box, and if you're interested you could click on them and then you get all the knowledge that you need to get in order to become a front-end engineer. Okay, so the first step in becoming a front-end engineer is to learn the basic web development languages, right? I categorize them into two, where we have HTML and CSS, but some people would also add JavaScript as the basic. In a way, it is a basic, but for me, I think JavaScript is advanced to web development instead of adding JavaScript to HTML and CSS. Okay, so first thing, HTML. What is HTML? It stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and I describe that to be the skeleton of every web page, right? Every web page, any application you open on the browser has this HTML element in it, right? So if you can't skip HTML as an individual who wants to become a front-end engineer, you definitely need to learn HTML. And this is how HTML looks. It has the skeleton, structure on the web page, where we have CSS comes in to enhance the structure of the HTML that you have on the web page or you have designed, right? So that leads us to the next basic web language you need to learn, which is CSS, right? So CSS basically stands for cascading style sheets, right? And its job is to enhance the look of the web page. So if you design a web page with HTML, just the skeleton where you have the header designed with HTML, all those stuff, you have CSS coming in to put in the color and make some shapes, making the borders, giving the borders some pixels and all those stuff. We have CSS coming to do that, and its job is just to beautify HTML. Simple as that. I'll drop a link to CSS documentation so you can read it and understand how to work with CSS, and the same as HTML. So after learning HTML and CSS, then what I would advise you to do is to build a basic web page. It could just be one page like this, right? It could just be this one page where you design, some headers, some bodies with just HTML and CSS and nothing else, because that's what we have spoken about so far. So once you've built this basic web page with HTML and CSS and you feel comfortable because you have used all the various, things you learned in HTML and CSS on this web page, then you now qualify to move to the next stage, which is JavaScript. And for me, I would say if you are a good learner, not too good, like average, it should take you like 1 to 2 weeks to learn, I think, both programming language. If you are serious about the whole thing, right? It should take you 1 to 2 weeks to learn HTML and CSS, right? And then you move to the next language, which is JavaScript, the almighty JavaScript. And that is why I don't add JavaScript. I don't classify JavaScript as a basic web programming language. It is not basic to me, like it's an almighty. You can build a whole web application or website with JavaScript and no framework, right? But you still have options to add framework, which I'll speak about later. So that is why I don't classify JavaScript as a basic programming language. Now let's get to JavaScript. What does JavaScript actually do? And I would say, or JavaScript actually, what it does is JavaScript basically makes the web page interactive. Okay, by including animations, dynamic styling, and adding some effects to the buttons, to all various parts of the web page. So let me give you an example, okay? Let me use YouTube for an example. You know, YouTube, when you look at the subscribe button, it's red by default if you haven't subscribed to the content creators video that you are watching. So for now, like for instance, if you can see red there, it means you have not subscribed to my channel. So just follow what I'm going to say and then you subscribe and also see what JavaScript, you see the work of JavaScript, okay? Now the button is red on YouTube on this video you're watching, and then you click. When you click, what you see is the button becomes gray and a bell icon pops up on the right. Is it right? On your side is the right. Yeah. Anyhow, it pops up on the right, and that's the job of JavaScript. I clicked, a function is called from JavaScript that changes the button to gray and also brings up the bell. That is the job of JavaScript, and there are so many other things JavaScript can do, right? JavaScript can also make API calls, and if you don't know what that is, you definitely know what that is once you have the zeal to become a front-end engineer. You definitely get there to understand that JavaScript can make extra things aside animations and all those stuff on the web page. So that's for JavaScript, and I'll drop a link also to where you can learn JavaScript like from A to Z, which includes the API call stuff I spoke about. All right. So once you are done taking the course on JavaScript, and or you have followed the link in the description to learn everything about JavaScript, the next thing to do is to actually build a website, right? You build a website with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the website could be a basic portfolio website where a website probably that talks about you, or any sort of just a basic website, but like a website you can actually host somewhere on a domain and all this stuff, right? So once you're done with the JavaScript and you have built a website with using JavaScript and HTML and CSS, the next thing I believe you should do is to understand APIs. Okay, now API is application programming interface. What API helps, the how if API helps in frontend is basically to interact with the backend logic and interact with the database. Okay, and then in order for a front-end engineer to interact with the backend, to interact with APIs, they have these libraries, which is we have fetch and then we have axios. For now, these are the two which are being mostly used by front-end engineers, right? So they use that to access to communicate with APIs in order to have access to the business logic or the database, right? So there are different types of APIs, but the tool that is mostly used, I believe, is mostly used. I could say there are types of architecture of APIs. There are two main types that are mostly used, which is a REST API and there's a SOAP API. So you can look into any of these and find the one that is suitable. Not even suitable, I believe you should really understand how to communicate with these two types of APIs. Now, once you are done with that, it's not really difficult. Once you are done with that, the next thing you should be looking at is web framework. Web framework is not compulsory, but in these days, web framework is compulsory because first of all, no company wants to employ someone who only knows JavaScript without um, having knowledge in a framework. And let me just explain what framework is, and then you get to understand why companies um, want to only employ engineers who understand some form of framework. Now, framework aims to make application development easier. So, for instance, you are building JavaScript application. You have to code every single thing you think about. Like you have to code it. There's no pre-built functions or sort of sitting somewhere for you to just have access to, right? You have to pre-build it from scratch because JavaScript is a script. JavaScript is a script. Yeah, JavaScript is a script, right? Meaning you have to build everything by yourself. But here we have some very genius and intelligent people building frameworks for us to easily bootstrap it up with JavaScript. Do you get it? I know this sounds a lot, but you get to understand it once you move along in your career. Do you get it? Good. So you need to learn these frameworks that makes development easier. They don't bring anything extra. They only come with packages and pre-built functions you can easily use instead of coding them yourself. Okay. So there are a lot of frameworks that you can look into, but the top three, top three, anyways. This is funny. Okay, so there are top three um, frameworks you can learn, which is Vue.js, we have AngularJS, and we have the almighty React JS. All these are frameworks you can look into. I won't be the one to decide which one works for you because each of them comes with their own pros and cons. So I believe I will urge you to look into all of these, not into details, just you can probably watch some videos on how these guys, all these three different frameworks works, and then you decide on which one you want. You can even go ahead to look into the code to understand probably which one makes more sense to you. Then you pick your favorite, and then you master that, and then you can later on in life learn the other ones if you want to. So that is it with framework. And once you're done with framework, then you are the boss. Like you are the boss where you can now build applications like any kind of application with speed because this time around we have framework coming up with pre-built stuff for you to use. You get it? Now, once you're done with framework, again, you build application using this framework you have learned so that like you keep getting the skill up, up and up. And that's how like every pro engineer and intermediate engineer all do it. Like they keep building applications and applications until they get better. Now, once you're done with learning a framework, what I believe you should do last is learning this version control stuff because once you're done with this and you feel like okay, you are a master or like now you know stuff and you can build stuff. Mind you, the company you are moving into has developers before trying to apply and get into. You are now applying to join those other developers, meaning that you are going to work on the same code with these developers. So what this means is that you have to learn version control, where you're able to build on the same project with other developers. These are tools. Version control, they are tools that help you to, in order to collaborate on the same project with other developers, right? So tools like Git is a very important tool. And I have not met any engineer who doesn't know what Git is. So the next thing after learning a framework, and if you have hopes to apply to a company, then I think you should learn Git in order to be able to work on the same project with other developers in the new company you would find yourself. Yes, and then there's one question most people would ask. Like, I've had a couple of people asking me that how long would it take me to learn all these things that I've said, and then how, like, this coding, the software engineering thing is a self-paced thing, right? You can't compare your learning path, not learning path, I mean like the duration at which I can learn all this stuff is not going to be the same as yours, because my learning capabilities are way different from yours. Yours could be higher, mine could be low, mine could be high, and yours could be low. So it's your own time, your own pace, your own everything, okay? You just have to set time for yourself, say maybe 2 hours a day or 5 hours a week, or evening time after work. If you're a working class, if you're a student, you also set time for yourself to learn all these things. And you would realize that with time, like, you're catching up. You don't need to compare yourself to someone and say, okay, this person started and he's doing crazy things, so no, it's not supposed to be like that, right? So I think that's all. And if you have any questions or anything that you feel like I haven't spoken about and you want me to touch base on those stuff, just drop it in the comment section and I would reply. Or if it requires me to do another video, I would do that. Thanks for watching this video. If this video was really informative to you, can you please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so that anytime I drop a new video, you get notified. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in my next video. Bye.